with Brian J. And a very special guest today, Dawn. I love saying her last name, Tucci, not Gucci, but Tucci. I love that name. Like I listen. If you were able to get married, I would just get married so I could take your. You could adopt me, and then I could be an honorary Tucci.
Okay, that works. Yeah.
Dawn, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing fabulous. I'm snowed in. So, hey,
Listen,
what?
I
Life
tell
is
her this
good.
all the time. I don't believe that. Look at her hair. She looks like she's coming from the beach. I tell her all the time she has this beach hair. It's very Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, okay. Well, thank
You have
you.
Jennifer Aniston hair. Well, hey, before we dive in here, I want to make sure that we offer, oh, you can't even see it, a very special thanks to our sponsors right here. We have Permanent Skin Artistry. They've done my work. They can do yours. And then we have Pay It Forward with Zach Clinton, where he is all about assisting nonprofits with disability and ability causes. So reach out, listen to them, see what they could do. So we appreciate our sponsors. But let's get into the meat and potatoes. And talking about meat and potatoes,
I like meat and
Dawn
potatoes.
is the person to talk about when it comes to nutrition. So, Dawn, why don't we start telling us a little bit about why nutrition is so important to you and how you got into it?
You know what, Brian? That's our fuel. And so it's kind of like, do you put cheap gas in your car kind of conversation? And I got into nutrition because I loved it. I was a marketing major, bored out of my mind, and I took a nutrition class and I was all in. I'm a science person. I love it. And so that was a few years ago. But my passion today is really helping
Yeah.
people make those choices and not making food a taboo subject. I mean, that's so often you see the restriction side of people's eating and feeling like they have to restrict themselves to be healthy. And I'm here to change that. I don't believe that at all. I believe I would always say, Brian, I'm so boring because it's all about moderation, but moderation is so freeing. And you can express yourself with your foods and your recipes. But I just love helping people understand that those little tweaks in your life can make a big difference.
I think you hit the nail on the head. So, as most have seen or known, I went through my own little health journey, right? Was well over 300 pounds, cut myself down, dropped all the way down to 225.
Wow.
Life happened, COVID happened, ballooned back up, came back down, and so forth and so on. So, um, tweaks. It's about making things work for you. So, for example,
Mhm.
for me, I love hot dogs and sausages. I'm going to eat hot dogs and sausages. I don't care. So what I did is I found a sausage or actually a hot dog, ballpark even, okay, that is 45 calories versus a normal hot dog at 145. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to say what I do works for everybody, right? I
Yeah.
only focused on the calories for a short term. There's a whole other element, and we're going to talk about macnutrients, right? And all these other little things. So you got to figure out what works with you. And again, have someone like Dawn standing beside you, holding
Mhm.
your hand. But it's those tweaks. I love breads,
Mhm.
but I found these wraps that are only 45 calories. So now
Mhm.
instead of having a sandwich with two pieces of bread at 140, I can
Yeah.
have two wraps and still hit underneath.
Mhm.
It's just finding what works for you.
It
So
is, and
I love it.
and you have to be full too, right, Brian? I mean, if you eat, we were traveling, and my husband was eating Twizzlers, and I said, "Do you know how many calories are in those things?" He's like, 10, 110,
Yeah.
right? So I think part of it is
Hey, we
recognizing
eat five.
the
Okay, we eat five. We don't just eat one. They're not
right.
Lay's. Look, I just branded Lay's for him.
That's it. That's it. So Snickers so satisfying. No, it's not. So it's recognizing, like you're saying, calories that are in our food. If you can swap out some things that are just as satisfying to you, but half the calories, that's a good swap.
Yeah.
But beyond calories, recognizing what makes us full. And years ago, we took all the fat out of our food, put sugar in its place. That was a problem. That was a mistake. That's probably what led to a lot of our weight problems today. The satiety from healthy fats is super important. And I know you and I were talking about avocados the other day. They're
Mhm.
caloric. They have a lot of calories, but what they do for your body may prevent you from overeating. So it's that balance.
Oh, 100%. I used it. I ran out of my ranch dressing, fat-free ranch, only 20 calories per tablespoon. Uh, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to use avocado instead. And I did it on a sandwich, and I've done it in a salad dressing. And again, it was creamy. I threw some of my fat-free sour cream in there, right?
Mhm.
So it was able to extend. I think we were chatting the other day as well. I found a new substitute for noodles, which is cabbage.
Right,
Hello.
right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love your substitutions. And I know you're like me, you focus on getting that protein in. A lot of us are carb lovers. I mean, I am. I love the bread, I love the pasta. And it's okay to have some, but swapping out and not having so much of that is, I think, really the answer. And if you can find something that's just as satisfying, why not? So yeah, who knew that about cabbage?
Yeah, but one of the things I notice for myself is I have to plan. I wake up in the morning
Absolutely.
planning what I'm going to eat today.
Yeah.
Because when I get hungry and I eat on the whim, I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I've already done it. One evening last month, I woke up and I ate a piece of cake. Didn't even realize I ate a cake until I woke up in the morning and the counter was covered in crumbs. And I was like, oh, I gotta put this in now. Like I gotta figure out how I ate cake in the middle of the night. I wasn't thinking, but I like doing that because if I say, hey, you know what, what I plan to eat, I'm already above my calories, which means I got to work out a little bit more, or I need to tweak what I'm eating, right? And it
Mhm.
really allows me to do that. I had, listen, I went to Arby's the other day and I got two sandwiches, right?
Mhm.
I ate one with bread because I hadn't had bread for a minute. And I was like, okay. I ate the other one with the salad wrap,
Oh, I love
right?
that.
Yeah, I've gotten the rallies or not rallies, Arby's and gotten their roast beef and put it in my wraps. So instead of their wrap at 400 calories, my wrap is only 45.
That
And I
is
can
so
do
smart. I'm
tomato
going to put
basil or
wraps in
spinach.
my car. I'm going to keep some wraps in my car.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm a wrap person. It's what works for me.
Yeah.
So you gotta find what works for you. Maybe it's peanuts, right? We forget peanuts is a great source of protein.
Hmm.
Tuna fish, crab, right? Shrimp.
Absolutely.
These are
Yes.
all
Absolutely.
things that are easy breezy that you can throw in there.
Hmm.
Not
Yes.
ramen noodle. Okay. But listen, you can eat ramen noodle. You just can't eat 4 packages of ramen noodle.
Yeah. So you hit it, Brian. You got to do some planning. You got to do some thinking ahead, get some food in there. Planning ahead is a little bit of time spent, but it's going to save you time in the long run. And you're going to be able to eat the things that you like. Like you mentioned a piece of cake. If you wanted to have a piece of cake, you can find a way to
Oh,
work that into
budgeted it.
your day. If you really want it, work
Absolutely.
it into your day and enjoy it. Don't eat it thinking I shouldn't be eating this and I'm doing something wrong. No, it's not like that.
Well, and here's the thing is sometimes I'll get in the habit. Now I cut my calories when I'm gonna make you shake your head. When I really started losing weight and I said, okay, what am I currently eating calorie wise and what do I need to, put myself to? So I was consuming over a 2 week period, I did an average. Do you know how many calories I was consuming? Over 4,200 a day.
Wow.
Do you know how many calories I was burning eating 4,200 calories a day? Maybe 50.
Yeah.
Maybe, right? So I cut my calories super down, and I'm not going to say how long because I don't want to advise you to do that because this is what works for me. But it's really about managing that budget. Now, what I do is, you know what? If I eat something a little extra today and I go over, that's okay. My big goal is in a week because on
Yeah.
Friday, I may want a burger and go out and have a glass of wine. I typically
Yeah.
don't drink my calories. So I may have to do stuff during the week in order to be able to have that, which is, again, planning, right?
Mhm.
That doesn't mean you
Mhm.
can't go out to McDonald's and enjoy a Big Mac, guys.
Absolutely.
It
The
just means you can't do
moderation
that four
is the
times a
plan.
week.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Plan it. So that's a good point. We were traveling and we took food with us. Why? Because I don't want to have to eat at those two choices if I don't want to. I don't want to eat that fast food burger that I'm not at the moment wanting just because it's my only choice. So I think the planning side of food is so important. If you're craving a McDonald's Big Mac, plan it, go eat it. But if you're eating it as because that's the only choice, that's a waste, right? That's a waste of those calories.
It is a waste. It is
I love to help
absolutely.
people plan and I love to help people start to cook a little bit too. And, when I think about planning, I think about what am I going to cook for the week. And a lot of people, if you ask them if they'd like to cook, they would be like, oh, but how are you thinking about cooking? Are you making it hard? My meal for tonight is in my crock pot. It took me 5 minutes. So
Nice.
that's where you get a little help, get a little assistance about how to cook in a fast, healthy way. We sometimes need to get some information to make those changes.
Yeah. Can I share a secret?
Absolutely.
Okay. So listen, I'm just going to share the secret. You know the secret. We already talked about it. When I say this, she probably doesn't even know what I'm going to say. Is that we're actually, her and myself and another young lady, Pamela, is it Thielen? Thielen?
Teal
Thielen. Don't pronounce the H. Pamela
and
Thielen.
Tucci, right? Brian T and
I
T.
know.
Thielen and Tucci.
Are creating a, I don't want to say cooking show, but a cooking segment to be able to assist. So they're going to cook the same meal, and then maybe we judge it, right? We have people eat it, like Gordon Ramsay. But you guys are gonna engage with folks and make cooking fun, right?
Mhm.
And make cooking smart.
That's it, right? That's it. So we are going to start doing that in February. So you can follow us on our social media to check that out. But we're each going to add our different flavors, right? She might like broccoli, I might like asparagus. The first one we're thinking about doing is a casserole. Everybody loves casseroles in the wintertime. They're time savers. You can freeze them, they're easy to make, but she might make hers a little different than I am. And we're going to look at healthy substitutions in making that. So,
That's the difference
healthy.
between watching Rachel Ray, which I love Rachel Ray. Nothing
Yeah.
against Miss Ray, but with the teas, right? With the tea ladies, like the pink ladies. Like if we're like, no, we're not gonna grease it up. With these young ladies, you're gonna get some different ideas, thought process. You may not even think to put, oh, I didn't think of this seasoning with this, or this is a great filler when I'm looking. Oh, I didn't know that tomatoes, I'm just throwing this out, are good if you don't put them in the refrigerator, or whatever tidbits and tips and other beneficial information that you're going to be able to give. So this isn't just something normal. Plus, it's fun, right?
Plus
It's
fun.
a good time.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun. Yeah,
I'm
so
looking
come and
forward
cook
to
with
it.
us.
Right? Hey, listen, anything avocado, I am there.
Oh,
One
yeah.
of if and when you guys are following Dawn, you'll be able to see some of her recipes, and we definitely have favorite recipes. As I see them come across, I will send out a quick snippet and say, oh my god, this looks amazing. Can we make this? How do we do this? What has been your favorite recipe that you have run across or that you've created over the last few months?
Yeah, so my favorite one is called quinoa chili. So, and I love chili. I made chili the other night with meat. I love chili with meat and beans, and I think that's a really healthy thing to eat. But when you're in the mood for something different, a little spicier, with a little bit of a different twist, maybe a little bit more healthy, is the quinoa chili that I make. It's just amazing. Because Brian, the thing is, I always think about how can I put more vegetables, more nutrition, and more fiber in my meal and still have it be awesome, really yummy. So my quinoa chili.
Okay, I'm about that. I'm a chili person. We all know, as I always say, I've never entered a chili contest that I haven't won. Okay, soups
Oh,
and casserole. Yeah, listen. Here's my chili. This is not healthy, guys. I do have a healthy version that I've substituted, but this is not healthy. So, steak tips, pork sausage, usually spicy of some sort, ground turkey, ground beef, bacon. So I have my 5 meats, and then I do a fresh salsa, which is typically some sort of a pepper, habanero, tomato, onion mixture. My beans, I usually do a black bean, a kidney bean, as well as a red bean. But listen, I eat. I keep saying, but listen, I eat it like over a 3 to 4 day period. I eat chili one day. I eat it over Cheetos one day. I eat it over fresh French fries one day. I put it in my eggs because I love a
yeah.
good chili with your eggs. And those are things when you make something, you could plan. And how can I use this another way? One of the
I
things
love
I love
that.
doing when I bulk cook is my favorite is a carrot, celery, onion, mushroom, chicken. I start with those 5 basics. I can make
Mhm.
anything, guys. I can make a soup with that. Okay.
Yeah.
I can make a casserole with that. I can make it stuffed. I mean, there's so many different things that I can do. If I cook all that once and then I freeze it, now I have those options. Those are
I
the things
love
you
that.
can think about. Yeah,
That's
you
it.
can add, because
That's
you never want to, you listen, you never want to free. I gotta stop saying that. Let's listen. You never want to freeze pasta noodles or rice, right? Ugh.
yeah.
So you always can add to that. But if you have a nice base, even with beef, guys, beef and chicken and mushrooms, you can do so many different things with those mixtures, especially with the
And that's the
vegetables,
point,
just to be to
right?
pull. I'm
That's
sorry?
the point part. That's
Yeah.
it. And so you took something that was really hearty and really satisfying, and you could do so many things with that. I love that.
Yeah. So you just gotta think, what if I have five basic ingredients? I only was able to go to the grocery store. So if you're poor, right, or you're going month to month, especially with egg prices right now, okay, these are great things to think about. How can I stretch this meal? Right, chicken is a
Mhm.
great way to stretch things.
Or
If
beans.
you
Beans are a great way to stretch things. I'm getting ready to make a chocolate cake out of garbanzo beans. So that's going to be interesting. But using beans, they can go in salads. Like you're saying, Brian, if you cook some beans for the week, pinto, black, whatever you like, they can go in your wraps that you love. They can go in the soup that you're making. You can eat
a
them by
salsa,
themselves.
corn and beans,
Salsa, corn, and beans. Yeah,
right?
such an easy meal.
Instead of grabbing queso for that cheesy feeling, which you
Yeah.
can have sometimes, but you don't have to need to have it every Friday night as you watch The Bachelor. Okay, it is Monday night. I was trying to pretend I didn't know when it was on. Do you watch The Bachelor, Dawn? No,
I'm
you
not
don't, do you?
anymore. I used to.
Yeah.
I don't watch that anymore. No.
What's your guilty pleasure, Dawn? I would love to know what your guilty pleasure is.
Well, so definitely a Netflix series at night. I mean, we are so satisfied with sitting in our chair and watching that. And,
Okay.
that TV can lead to food. So that's something that we've had to become aware of is our Netflix snacking. And so, talk about planning, Brian. I make sure I have the cucumbers, the hummus, things that we love to eat. But if you don't, you're going to go get the bag of chips. So,
Right. And no matter how healthy chips are, it's still chips, right? At
it
the
is,
end of the
and
day.
they have their place. My husband said to me the other day, he didn't grow up eating a sandwich with chips. Well, I can't eat a sandwich without chips, but like a handful. You don't get the whole bag and keep
Right.
eating, just a handful. So it's the moderation.
It's funny that you say that because when I eat sloppy joes, which I make with ground chicken or ground turkey, keep in
Mhm.
mind you can make that taste like beef, guys. Worcestershire sauce, right? Beef
Yeah.
seasoning. So you could still utilize the healthy versions instead of grabbing that sirloin or that beef and just substitute. But as I was saying, when I make that, and I totally got lost. What were we talking about? I got all excited over food.
We were talking about chips.
Chips. Still have no idea. Chips and meat. Cucumber. I was going somewhere. It was
I don't know
super.
where you're
I
going,
got
Brian, but
distracted
I
over the
wanted to
food.
hear
My
it.
mouth is watering. I am hungry too. Um, guys, weight loss also something that I think that we need to talk about. Super important is weight loss is not about not eating,
Oh,
right? You want to talk about that, Dawn?
weight loss is not about not eating. That is just so true. So do you have to manage your calories so that you create a deficit somehow to lose weight? You do. But one of the ways to change it, you already said this, Brian, is the output side, right? So increasing your metabolism is really the secret to weight loss, especially when you pass, and I know you're not there yet, but you pass 50, metabolism is going in this direction. So you've got to turn it around, and building muscle is one of the best ways to boost your metabolism, to get it going. It takes a lot of calories to maintain muscle. On the food side, you have to think more, and I know you're focused on calories and I understand why, but I think having a regimen, and I've created one and recently lost 5 pounds as a 60-year-old just by tweaking my choices a little bit. So it's not a no carb, it's not an over carb, it's a moderate carb. And focusing on what to put in and not focusing on what to leave out, focusing on the vegetable side, the fibrous foods, what to put in, the nuts, the seeds, the fibery things. I'm not excluding meat. I'm just saying focus on getting those in, and those things like avocados, yogurt, proteins that make you feel full. That really, I think, is the secret to losing weight, is getting protein throughout the day, definitely having a carb at night because that's going to help you sleep and you need a carb, but getting those vegetables and fruits in, So it's about calories, but if you focus on them too much, you're going to miss it.
I agree with that. I love the fact you talk about those vegetables, right? Before I dive into vegetables, I did remember what I was going to say. You were talking about having chips with a sandwich and how that is in your brain. I can't eat sloppy joes without Ruffle chips. I can't do any other chip. Don't give me fake Kroger chips. Don't give me Lay's. I have to have Ridges on my Ruffles with the salt.
Got it.
No exception. So when I decide to have sloppy Joe, when I plan that meal, I go and I buy myself a small bag of those Ruffles. Because if I buy a big bag, guys, I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
In one setting. I do not have any self-control when it comes to chips. You got to
know yourself, right?
Right. So I buy that small bag and I know that that's my dinner portion because it's now calculated and I'm all good to go. But you keep hitting the same thing, planning and tweaking, maneuver on. It's got to work for you. Everyone asks me, oh my God, Brian, how did you do it? Was it hard? Was it hard losing weight? No, it wasn't. And that is the crappiest answer that I feel like saying, right? But I had to get my mind invested. If my mind wasn't there, it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Absolutely. I think the mind is such an important part of it. I'm glad that you said that because it is your mindset. And when you make that decision, then it's not hard because you already made the decision and now I'm just going to do it. And then you have to find the way and plan it and do those things and get that information if you need it. But what you're telling yourself about food is so critical. Like if I said to you, Brian, you can't have, you name it. How's that make you feel? Right. And is that ever true that you can't have that? Well, if you have some kind of physical problem and you have an intolerance, then we probably need to talk too. But you can have anything. It's how much, it's how often. And that mindset of telling yourself you can't have something, or me telling you can't have something, that's just, we're starting off on the wrong foot.
But society has, do you want to go deep on this? Yeah, let's do this. Society has told us when we celebrate, it's okay to eat, right? Here's another one. Pick a movie from the 1980s, any movie that is typically a romance comedy, and you're going to find a young lady that has been dumped by her boyfriend. And what is the first thing that comes to your mind? They're sitting on the couch eating a tub of ice cream. They're soaking their feelings in food. That is how I got brought up. Every comedy show, every show, that was a norm, right? You get upset, you go eat. You eat your feelings. That has tricked us to say it's okay. One of the things, being a heavier guy, my son's mother is a heavier lady, was a heavier lady as well. It's definitely an opportunity and an issue. And we wanted to make sure that with Jackson, we didn't do that. And for me specifically, I know that when he's had bad days, right? Or he's got a great report card, or he did great at soccer. What do? Let's go get ice cream. That's great. We're rewarding and dewarding. I just made that word up. I don't know if it exists. We are rewarding and dewarding that type of behavior as a society. That's something that needs to be changed.
It's really true. And so a couple things with that. So let's go deep on that. You can train your own brain. And so if you have that experience, your son, Jackson, where he accomplishes something and then you go get ice cream, there is a physical component to those foods and our emotions, and your brain learns to want that because of the connection. We're in control of that. My son was playing with a neighborhood friend years ago when he was younger, and he was hurt. He got hurt, and she said, "Oh, come on, let's go in and get a cookie." And I was like, what did you just say to my son? No, my son just needs a hug. He does not need your cookie. Don't teach them. We can teach our kids that connection, like you're saying, or not. So yeah, we have as a society made that connection with our brains, and it's probably not the best use of food.
Right.
Yeah.
No, totally. Well, listen, there's so much more information that you could reach out to Dawn and talk about. I highly recommend that. You can reach out to her variety of different ways up above in the contact form. But why don't you tell them verbally so they can hear it as well in case they're driving? What are some ways they can reach out to you, Dawn?
Yeah, so probably the best way to remember Brian is I love being on Instagram. I love the visual side of that. You know how I love to make recipes.
Mhm.
So dietitian underscore Dawn is my handle on Instagram. Probably one of the best ways to get in contact with me.
Perfect. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Any last words to throw out to our lovely listeners?
I just, enjoy food, right? So no reason not to. And if you
Does it?
need help with making those better choices, you don't know what they are, reach out to me and message me. Love to help you.
There you go. Well, hey, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your energy. We'll see you next week, same time, same place with Connecting Communities. Take care.